Tim Petrovich of the Daily Republican here with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. Coach, as we head into week 2, first let's talk about the season opener last Friday night, a 31-7 win over Granite City. Looked a lot like a first game for your club, and you talked about it after practice on Monday that you won 31-7, but there were still a lot of things you saw that could improve.
Absolutely. I don't mean to sound greedy or ungrateful, but as a coach, obviously we did some things well, but there were so many things that we could have improved on, maybe things I was disappointed in. I think there were some blocking miscues that I think are a warning sign that if you don't get those fixed in a hurry, they're going to catch up to you. And we were lucky to get away with some of those things on Friday, and so I would rather reevaluate and take a hard look at what we did on Friday after a win and have to wait until a loss takes place and then say, oh my gosh, we should have known. So we're pretty critical after a win, especially one where I think, regardless of the score, we could have played and certainly could have blocked offensively much better.
And you can see that the average fan might not see it, but you could see you ran for 216 yards, but if one play, one block would have gone right instead of a 2-yard loss, it's a 15 or 20-yard gain and things like that.
Yeah, we had 4 or 5-yard gains that could have been much bigger, and I'm not taking anything from Granite City, are a very hard physical football team, and a lot of credit that goes to them at times. They did some good things against us, but the only I have control of is what my team does or doesn't do. And you're right. I mean, our motto this year's got to be 11. It's got to be 11 on every snap of every play, no matter if it's offense, defense, or special teams. And I just felt like at times we were playing with 10 guys or 9 guys doing their job. And in this game, you're not going to win big ball games unless you get 11 players playing together.
You gave up 236 yards in offense to Granite City, but only 7 points.
Right.
And it did seem like the defense was markedly better in the second half than it was in the first half.
Yeah, I think they wore down a little bit. I think our tempo offensively wore down a little bit, and I think our defensive coaching staff made some really good adjustments at halftime, as they always do. And Coach Seema and Coach Wimberly and Coach Dunning just do a great job of tweaking what they're doing, not changing anything too dramatically, but making an adjustment in a technique, getting alignment maybe squared away. And I thought they did a really good job of bottling them up in the second half.
A couple of individual players we noticed. First of all, Torrance Stanley seemed to be all over the field. Special teams, defense, and offense.
He did. He did a lot of good things for us, and big interception, and he had a nice run, a couple of catches, and just a real well-rounded game for Torrance. He really, he's a pretty valuable player for us. We're going to rely on him pretty heavily.
You were able to get 100 yards from Shaquille Ivey, but Herbert McMillan had a nice game running the ball, and Cedric Neal, we talked about him, and even Brett, when he ran the ball, picked up a couple of key first downs for him.
He did. At key moments, he made some good decisions, when to run and to get the first downs for us, and I even thought Alex Long came in, I think, and had 2 nice runs. They were short yardage runs, but one was for a touchdown. So we love that backfield by committee, getting a lot of touches, and I thought we were pretty pleased with that side of things. The offensive line, I thought had a really good ball game for the first game of the year, and I qualify about everything because sometimes first games of the year can be rough. But I thought overall there were a lot of positives, but yet a big need for improvement. I thought our offensive line was one of those things I thought was a positive.
You said before the game last week that you might have a little bit of quarterback by committee, Brett Bradley, Matt Lewis. As the game went on, Brett seemed to be really comfortable in the backfield running the offense, and you said after the game Friday night made a lot of good decisions for you.
He did, and I still think Matt's going to be able to see some time. I do want to get him on the field, and I think he's earned that. But it all comes sometimes down to the flow of the game, and I think there was a certain flow where Brett had command and was making good decisions, and the ball game was tight until mid-third quarter or so, and late third quarter, and I didn't want to break the momentum that I thought we had. We were moving the ball. We only had to punt one time up to that point, and we really hadn't been stopped by them as much as we had shot ourselves in the foot with some penalties and stuff. But I think overall he had a real solid football game. He was 10 for 14. You said some key runs. Most of all, he had a nice command of the field and of the situation, and he just made good decisions. And that's what he's got to do.
We want to get on to talk to Highland, but one other thing. probably the biggest concern that you would have, 3 fumbles in the game.
Yeah.
But you forced 5 turnovers from Granite City. So you were able to, even though you gave the ball up 3 times, you still won the turnover battle.
Yeah, we were fortunate to win the turnover battle, having fumbled 3 times, and we've got to cut that down. They were, there's never a good time for a turnover, but you turn the ball over on the 3-yard line or deep in your territory, it's always difficult. It can be a big momentum change, and so we've got to do a better job of taking care of the ball. Some of those things were things I'm sure we can fix. Ball handling the proper side, but overall, I thought pretty good offensive performance for the first game. We've got to block better. We've got to hang on to football.
Let's talk about the Highland Bulldogs. It always seems to be a tough battle for Marion playing Highland, and they don't do themselves any favor with an opening week game against Belleville West. They actually led Belleville West early, scored the first touchdown, and lost 21-7. You mentioned again that really it's hard to take something out of that because of the kind of the school that Belleville West is for them to open up.
It really is. Last year Belleville beat them pretty badly, but Belleville was very good last year, and again, it's a hard measuring stick to go by. And I know that Highland has such a rich tradition of football, and they've had so many playoff appearances, and they've had so many great players run through that program that I know they play with a real sense of pride. It's their a chance to play at home, and they'll be ready for us. It's always a tough game between us and Highland, and we expect nothing but the best from them, and we expect a battle on Friday.
They were able to run for almost 300 yards last week, and Michael Beauty, 183 yards on 20 carries. Pretty tough assignment there.
He gained 1,000 yards last year. He's a very good football player. He's got great feet. He's got great quickness. Their coach said he's not a super speedster. He doesn't have the 4.4, 4.5 speed, but he's got great feet, very quick, and kind of a cutter and a slasher. And we've got to contain him because they really do a lot to try to get him the ball, and I can see why. He's a good football player.
Is it the kind of offense, though, that if you concentrate on him and key on him too much, that they can possibly burn you someplace else?
They've got a pretty good tradition of quarterbacks there, and I know this is the first year, I think his first year as starting quarterback, but I know they've never been afraid to throw the ball, and a few years ago they had baseball standout Jake Odorizzi at wide receiver, and he was a pretty good target for them, and they always seem to come up with a player like that, a tall receiver, a speedster, there's someone that can threaten us a little bit. So we're going to have to, be leery of that. They've always been a good boot passing team, off the run, fake, play action type stuff. So, I feel like we're going to be in a situation where we're going to have to key them, but not leave ourselves too exposed to play action passes.
You've had success on the scoreboard against Highland in this series. You've won, especially over the last few years, the majority of these games. What do you have to make sure you do to keep that going this year?
Well, normally week in and week out, we feel like the same things are what we're setting as goals, and that is try to win the turnover battle. We've got to stop their running game. We have to be able to run the football, and I think our special teams have to play well. We're a spread football team, and we love to run the ball, and we use the pass sometimes to set up the run. I think we need to use our screen game effectively. We need to play fast. But I feel like special teams can be big in this ball game. We've got to stop number 22 and not let him get too many yards. We've got to contain him as best we can, and we've got to keep him off the field. And by running the football and getting points on the board early, I think we can do something maybe from our side to kind of take him out of the ball game.
We talk about this from year to year, but I think it bears repeating and reminding people. 2+ hour bus ride on Friday, which in your conference with Belleville and Cahokia and some of those teams that you play, Granite City in the opener every other year, that becomes a routine. But what is that routine? What do you guys do to try and make sure that that doesn't go too far, and it doesn't hurt you too bad?
What we've developed is a way to travel that I think is pretty easy for the kids to handle. It's we try to make it. We take care of every outside issue. Their job is to have their gear and load it on the bus and get on and go. and we try to have as few obstacles in the way as possible. We take care of the food situation. We take care of all those little things out there on the periphery, and just hope that their focus is on the game and packing their gear and getting on that bus and spending that 2 hours on the bus watching some film, going through their keys, and using that 2 hours to prepare yourself mentally. I think some of our kids are more prepared for a road game because they've got time on the bus quietly to think about their job rather than some of the distractions that can take place at home. So I think you can use it as a positive if you use that time effectively. And our kids seem to have done that the last few years.
You've had a pretty good road winning streak. I think in the last 2 years, one loss, and that was to Cahokia last year up at Cahokia.
Yeah, we've been a pretty good road team. I hope that continues with this group. And I'm optimistic that they'll travel well and we'll get off that bus ready to go. And we're excited. You know, it's always a good game. It's a great place to play. It's a great place to see a game and to coach a game. They're always really accommodating there. It's a first-class operation. So sometimes road trips don't always have that, but it's a good place to be.
And even on the long road trips, this Marion squad, this Marion program over the last 2 or 3 years especially, has traveled really well.
They really have, and you know, we've been blessed, I think, to develop a routine that is it's been pretty successful for us, and we're going to try to use that same routine again and get our kids up there and get them off that bus ready to go.
And how great is it when you go 2 hours away and it's almost like a home game for the fans?
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of people traveling with us, a lot of fans traveling with us, and we don't really feel like we've played many road games the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, our fans come and they're loud, and we're excited to get there and see the blue and gold behind us, so we're excited.
We got to talk about this before we go. A couple of guys dinged up. I know Marcus Green got hurt in the game last week and had to come out of the game. Apparently the injury not as serious as it was initially thought, but I also noticed early in the week Herbert McMillan was a little banged up too. And what are the status on those 2 guys?
Well, you know, I mean, Marcus is a little more serious than Herbert. It's kind of a wait and see. You know, this is, as you said, still early in the week. We really don't know. We anticipate maybe Marcus being able, or Herbert being able to play. But, you know, it's part of the game. I know that Highland last week had a couple of players suffer injuries. And, it sometimes happens early in the season. Sometimes you get it later in the season. Sometimes you don't get it at all. We just, sometimes against Granite City, they're a physical football team, and I don't think any of the injuries are season-ending, but they may just be a week or 2 type thing.
All right, Coach. Look forward to seeing you Friday night on the road in Highland. Should be a good ball game.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Coach Kerry Martin of the Marion Wildcats for the Daily Republican. I'm Tim Petrovich.